All right, guys, so it's officially announced. Israel Adesanya, Paulo Costa, undisclosed location, happening in September. We're breaking that fight down right now. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel. So, guys, it's official. It's announced. Costa versus Adesanya for the 185 belt, and I'm super excited about this one.
Oh, so jazzed up! And the little promo that they showed last night after the main event was so great. I'm a big Izzy fan. I love everything he does. I think he's great for the sport, all the way down to that trash talking. So good, calling what's his name? Paulo Costa, a Ricky Martin wannabe and all that stuff, botched and all. I just love it.
The name Ricky Martin was in your head so heavily that you couldn't even remember Paulo Costa's name.
Right. Yeah, he looks like a gorilla version of Ricky Martin. But it's such a nice contrast from 252 to 253 because, obviously DC and Stipe sold the fight a little bit, but these two guys are going to go in there and talk all the trash.
They're going to go at it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
The thing is, like, anytime you have a major fight like the DC Stipe trilogy, you look so forward to the fight. Mm-hmm. And then when it happens, you have like the fight hangover. You're like, man, I don't have anything to look forward to now. I was so excited for that. And, then you kind of have this lull period. What a way to quell that by announcing officially Izzy versus Costa, so we have something to look forward to. That's something the UFC has always done, and I've always appreciated. They always give you when they have your attention, they give you the next great thing to look forward to,
which is genius, and it's marketing 101. And that's the same thing can be said for what fighters need to do. I understand after a fight you're exhausted, and the last thing you want to do is start another fight, but you have to do it because as soon as your fight ends, we as fans, we as people watching want to know who you want to fight next. And if you give us nobody, then we can't really get interested
You got a few 100,000 or a couple million, depending on who the main event is, to tell the eyes watching you, to tell the world who you want to fight next. So you got to seize that opportunity.
Save a little bit. If you have to do a few extra minutes of cardio every day at the end of your workout just to have enough energy to call somebody out after, then do it.
It's cardio well worth it.
The only thing I'm angry about is it's about 40 days away. And obviously we have some cards like next week, and we got Frankie Edgar and Pedro Munoz on a free card. But, God, I don't want to wait 40 days for this fight.
Me either. Dana White, when he gets really, really excited for a fight, sometimes I agree with his assessment that this fight's going to be a great fight. Sometimes I'm like, I think maybe they're just trying to sell the fight. And I don't know stylistically if this is going to be great or not. I 1,000% agree with him that this has Fight of the Year candidate written all over it for two reasons. Reason number one, Paulo Costa is incredibly strong. He's incredibly powerful, and when the bell rings, he comes after you with a sort of intensity that's really almost unmatched in MMA today. That said, I think Israel Adesanya is a much more polished striker than Paulo Costa, and Izzy is a counter striker. So there's no way that this fight kind of ends up being a dud like the Romero-Izzy fight, because Romero, although he's extraordinarily powerful, he does wait to counter, and he kind of plays possum a little bit to throw his shots. Paulo Costa does not do that. So this fight is a collision. There's nothing but a collision that can happen here. Yeah,
it was weird, the Romero-Izzy fight, because Romero essentially did nothing. He didn't try to press or anything like that. He just did a very weird thing. Such a Romero thing to do in a title fight. But either way, I think one thing is Izzy's gas tank is going to be much better than Paulo Costa's. It's just a matter of science. If you carry a bunch of muscle, it's harder to move it around for a longer period of time. Izzy's built perfect for this sport. He's built perfect for that division. Paulo Costa is built like a brick you-know-what house. And I just think he's levels below as far as striking technique and proficiency and stuff like that. And also gas tank. I think there's going to be a nightmare of a storm. Hurricane Paulo Costa's coming into town against Izzy.
But he's moving through quick.
And the first round is going to be hard to deal with. And yeah, he's got crazy power. But the reason he was able to go all 5 rounds with Romero and make it a fight where you saw both the guys kind of going at the same pace the entire time is because they're both so muscle bound and they both slow down at kind of the same rate. Izzy doesn't really slow down with his striking and his gas tank is really good. So you're going to see Costa's, in my opinion, you're going to see Costa's tank start to diminish way quicker than Israel Adesanya's.
I think this fight really comes down to, for Paulo Costa, how much damage can I do in the first 3 to 5 minutes of the fight?
Yeah.
And if the answer is not much, then I think Izzy coasts to an easy victory.
Yeah.
If the answer is I can do a heck of a lot of damage and maybe even end the fight in those first couple minutes, then Izzy might be in for a long night because, Izzy, I do agree 100%. Izzy has an incredible gas tank, but we all know that once you take a few extraordinarily heavy shots, your gas tank and your fight IQ and everything for that matter starts to slow down and shut down a bit. So I really think this fight, pay super close attention, guys, to the first 3 minutes of this fight because that's going to tell us the outcome, in my opinion.
Yeah, speaking of fight IQ, Izzy has one of the sharpest minds in the sport, and you have to know that he's going to be ready and understands Paulo Costa's most dangerous in that first round, and he's willing to give up a round. He's a seasoned vet. He might still be a young guy, but he's seasoned when it comes to knowing his opponents and knowing how to take them into deeper water, and there's nothing easier for an elite level striker than striking with somebody who's less skilled as you and completely exhausted. That's like hitting a heavy bag for people like Izzy when somebody can't hold their arms up and you just. I think if this fight goes the way I'm envisioning it, the later rounds are going to be
a clinic,
an absolute striking clinic for Izzy, but he has to get there through Hurricane Paulo.
And that's the question is, can he get there?
Yeah.
We know that this is going to be a mega fight. We know that this is going to be a build-up unlike what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Paulo Costa has star power written all over him, but he's never really been in there with as the main event for a title with more than 1 million pay-per-view buys, which I do anticipate this one to reach.
That'd be great.
So do you think the pressure, because Izzy is a star. He's the UFC's biggest star right now. When Conor McGregor is not fighting, Israel Adesanya is the UFC's biggest star.
Him and Khabib right there.
Yeah, right. And so do you agree that when it comes down to who's going to win the battle of feeling the pressure and feeling the nerves more, that's going to be more on Paulo than it is on Izzy because he's already been there?
100%. What's the old expression? I eat this for breakfast. Izzy eats pressure for breakfast.
Yeah.
It is very hard to make the walk into a cage to fight somebody and then perform in the cage and then perform in your post-fight speech. Not only does he do all of that, checks all those boxes, he hits a breakdancing routine on the way to the cage, which is so hard to do.
Right.
First off, it's taking up. He probably burned 100 calories with the pressure and the people and the dancing routine in itself. But then he goes out there and performs and performs flawlessly for that matter. And I just think Paulo Costa, while he looks like the type of guy that can just deal with the pressure, it's going to get to him because this is definitely his biggest test and biggest show to date.
Yeah. And I think I haven't taken a look at the odds yet, but I would think that Izzy is a reasonable favorite.
If you go on the internet, if you go online, and I'm not talking about the betting site, but I'm talking about Instagram, social media, people are saying that they think Paulo is just going to run in there and knock him out. And it makes me scratch my head, go, why are you guys not watching Izzy? Izzy is doing great things right now. And I think what we're going to be talking about, and I don't want to give my prediction right now, but I think Sunday morning when we're talking about this fight, we're going to be saying, you know what, man, Izzy is really doing some crazy things, and who's next for him in that division?
Yeah, and I think, I do think Paulo Costa has several ways to win this fight, but sure. I'm leaning at the moment towards Izzy, and again, we'll give our predictions as it gets closer. But it goes back to that old schoolyard adage that most casual fans and most people, even I'll throw some diehard fans in there, they take a look at the bodies and they say, this guy's bigger and stronger, and he's going to beat up this skinnier and weaker guy.
Right.
And how many times does Nate Diaz and Israel Adesanya and Daniel Cormier and people who don't have that chiseled body have to show us that it's not always what meets the eye that ends up being what pans out and becomes the truth. I think that Israel Adesanya, and I almost hope that Paulo doesn't just go in there and steamroll Izzy, and I hope that for Paulo, because if he does, then everybody's going to say, "Oh, he just caught him. He's powerful." I hope if Paulo wins the fight that he's able to show that he really is a dominant force and he really can get in there and mix it up. Because I don't think if that happens, people won't really account for the fact that you just knocked out one of the best strikers the UFC has ever seen.
For sure.
And from that comes all the way back to his kickboxing days. City Kickboxing has done an incredible job of grooming him through the kickboxing ranks and then completing his game.
That's the gym of the year.
Eugene absolutely gym of the year in my opinion. Gym of the last couple of years, really. And I think that it takes even the diehard fans some convincing that it's not always what meets the eye is the way things go. And I think Israel Adesanya is a perfect example of that. And I don't think people give Izzy enough credit for being as strong as he is.
Yeah.
Yoel Romero is really freakishly strong. And Israel Adesanya was able to contend with that. Robert Whittaker is really freakishly strong. And Israel Adesanya was able to knock him out. Israel Adesanya may not have the most muscle-bound physique, but he's incredibly skilled where he needs to be skilled, and he's incredibly strong in the positions that he needs to be strong in.
Yeah, and I'm guaranteeing if you went into his gym and grabbed a hold of him and started pummeling or wrestling or, clinching with him, you would get a feel for how strong he actually is. And I'm sure he feels a lot tougher than he might appear on television for some people, and in contrast with Paulo Costa. But I'm so excited to see this fight, and I do think this is going to be a showcase of some of the highest level fighting and mixed martial arts in the world. But as far as the middleweight division goes, these are the right two guys. This is for sure the fight that we need to see right now. And if trilogies are on my mind right now because of this weekend, but maybe we see a split both ways, 1-1, and then we have to see a rubber match. I'm down with these two guys going at it a few times.
That's a good point. I don't think that this will be the last time that we see these two in there together.
Right. That's my point.
I don't know that it'll go to a trilogy. It might, and that would be great for the sport, because you don't normally get two fighters that know how to sell a fight, that understand the media and the build-up aspect of the game.
They have the look.
Have the look. And both of these guys usually have, Conor in there with, somebody who Conor is trying to...
gets a little sore carrying
Exactly. Yeah. This is not the case. These two guys both have they're both very unique in the way that they present themselves. And I love the fact that neither one of them try to be Conor, because we did see that for a while after the McGregor era, kind of when he was at his big, at the highest. Everybody wanted to be him. Izzy and Paulo have both come out. They both have their own style. They both have their own swag. They both have their own way that they talk trash. They both have their own way that they entertain. And they both have their own way that they fight. And this build-up, I think this is, my goodness, the end of 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, who would have thought that we would get the greatest heavyweight matchup of all time? This fight at middleweight. We got Khabib and Gaethje coming up after that. Who knows what's at the end of the year? But the UFC has come incredibly strong.
The cherry on top would be, in my opinion, and I don't think this happens at the end of this year, but you throw Masvidal and Conor in, we've got the best year in mixed martial arts history.
I know, but you know what? Seriously, and this is the only regret that I have about the fight that just took place with DC and Stipe, this fight that's coming up with Izzy and Costa, and the Khabib Gaethje fight, is that there's going to be no fans there. You just can't have Conor McGregor fight Jorge Masvidal
in front of nobody
with no fans.
Yeah,
it just, people would bust the doors down.
Yeah, I would probably be one of those.
Yeah,
people.
We would probably be two of them.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this. I'm just so angry that it's about 40 days away.
I know. It always gets you, because it's like you have a pay-per-view every month, but then you have months where it's like early to mid-month, like it was August 15th. And now I think is the official date the 26th?
Yeah,
September 26th. So yeah, you have a little bit more than a month there. But
I'm also eager to see how this card develops, because they showed the 4 or 5 fights that are already slated for it. Didn't look like the strongest card. Very top heavy. Kind of looks like a boxing card. But I'm sure there's going to be some great fights filling in those slots, and I just can't wait to see some of the matchups. Hopefully they throw a couple middleweight fights on there, so we can see another moving day in the middleweight division.
I think they will for sure. First gut reaction: where does this fight take place?
I think they're going to go. I know they're going back to Abu Dhabi later this year. They're going to go back to Fight Island. That's probably going to be with Khabib. I don't know if they go back and forth that quickly. So I'm going to go with Vegas.
You think Vegas? Yeah, and that could be the case, because I believe Paulo Costa is in the States currently.
Yeah.
And Izzy he lives in New Zealand. New Zealand has had no COVID cases for, I think, 100 days now. I think they just had another 1 or 2, but suffice it to say that New Zealand is relatively COVID-free and safe right now. So, I know the U.S., the visa situation, that's what sidelined Chimaev from being on this last card and things like that, and it's always a moving puzzle. But I don't know. I'm going to say that this one happens. I think they go to Fight Island twice.
Yeah,
I think they go to Fight Island for this one, and I think they go to Fight Island for Khabib Gaethje too, and then they do a big, huge barn burner of an end of the year fight in Vegas at the Apex. It's pretty much an all-American or all currently residing in America fight.
Yeah. Well, either way, I know Dana White would be more than happy to send a Gulfstream if he had to, out of his own pocket, to get Israel Adesanya to bring him to Vegas or wherever he needs to take him. But I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, this is going to be an incredible showdown. I think it's really going to – it's one of those don't blink matches. And by don't blink, I mean don't blink at the press conference, don't blink at the weigh-ins, certainly don't blink when the cage closes.
Yeah.
This is a high-octane matchup between two of the most – exciting fighters in the UFC right now.
Yep.
And I just simply could not be more excited for it.
The shots have already been started to get fired, and they're just going to keep going all the way until fight night, probably a little bit after as well.
Yeah.